Let me show you how I made this Anthropologie dupe dresser out of this $15 Facebook Marketplace IKEA find. The dresser was not in great condition when I got it, but it didn't really matter because we're pretty much going to cover the whole thing in paint and applique flowers. I started out by scuff sanding the dresser and then quickly realized that I actually needed to remove the handles before I went any further. Excuse me, sir. And the handles had to come off anyway because we're going to end up replacing them. Once that was done, I could get back to sanding. When you're working with IKEA furniture, sanding is really important because paint will not stick to the surface if you don't sand it first. I cut off the edges. What do we call them? The flanges. I cut those off yesterday. The front turned out pretty good, but the sides I messed it up pretty bad. So they splintered a lot. So I went in with wood filler and I'm gonna sand that today. And then I cut it crooked. It's flush here and it's flush here, but in the middle it started to like go in. So there was this part here. So that's okay. I filled it in a little bit with the wood filler and then we'll just cover it with a flower and it'll be fine, right?
Yep.
That's what I'm telling myself. So you can still see where it's splintered, but this is smooth now, so when I paint it, it won't show. I put the flower over that part that didn't look good. I think that's gonna be okay. So we'll just build out the flowers coming down this way, and no one will ever know. We're putting cornstarch on the mold. So this keeps the clay from sticking to it. So we can take it out easier. I'm using paper clay. And I tried different tools. The best thing I found was just using my hands. So I'm just gonna take that big chunk out. Chunk it, boy. Just push it in there. And I'm kind of like pushing it up over the edge. These projects are time consuming. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. So you just have to kind of find your rhythm and just kind of get in the groove and make a day out of it. I'm just kind of smoothing over the edges to make them a little bit more crisp, I guess. I'll let this one sit in here for a couple minutes while I'm doing the other one, and then we'll take it out.
Close your eyes for a minute, close your eyes for a second, I won't change my mind.
So I'm just taking some wood glue on a paintbrush, and I'm gonna paint an even coat of the wood glue all the way to the edge so the edges don't stick up. And then, come over here, we're just gonna stick this on like that. When you have one that goes across the gap in the drawer, I'm just gonna take a little butter knife and just be careful. You can sand this paper clay, so after I'm done, after it's dry and I'm done cutting everything and putting all the flowers on, I'm gonna go back and sand the edges. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So just make sure you cut it open so you can open your drawers.
Close your eyes for a minute, close your eyes for a second, I won't change my mind.
I want to try to make a whitewash. So I saw on the internets that you can mix 1 part paint with 1 part water. This isn't water, it's just the container I'm gonna put it in. The tutorial says to use a flat paint, so I have this white chalk paint. So I'm gonna put a cup of water and a cup of paint because it's a pretty big project. So I'm just gonna use the water level because I'm assuming it doesn't have to be exact, right? It doesn't have to be exactly 1-to-1, it's just approximate. This is how I live my life. Okay. The best technique I found with my homemade whitewash was to paint it on, and it is going to drip because the paint is watered down. The consistency of the whitewash is more watery. So you can kind of catch all those drips with your paintbrush and then almost immediately wipe it off with a rag. If you let it dry, it gets a little bit streaky and it just doesn't look the way I wanted it to look. So I wiped it off almost immediately with the rag and then continued to kind of layer that up so I had a little bit more of that white coverage. This is how the dresser turned out, and I'm so happy with it. My daughter has had this dresser for over a year and it's held up great. Let me know in the comments if you're going to try this DIY dresser.